This episode is brought to you by Studiosity. What does it mean to be an educated person? In 2026, degree value is at risk. Not from AI generally, but from student dependency. This reliance has eroded trust, trapping the sector in a culture of suspicion. Studiosity has flipped this to help colleges defend the enormous value behind degrees by replacing that suspicion with student agency. Through formative feedback process and self-validation, students can always show the personal effort behind their work, while educators set their own standards to teach, not police. Colleges are moving past dependency and suspicion to defensible evidence of learning. To find out how, visit Studiosity.com. Hello and welcome to Learning Curve, where we explore how education is adapting to the age of generative AI. I'm Jeff Young. The latest AI tools raise all kinds of questions about creativity. I mean, if you type a few words into an AI tool and it spits out an intricate design that people love, does that make you a designer? This is not just some sort of academic question or a thought exercise these days. Especially if you are a college and you offer courses in design or other creative fields. I mean, what do you teach when these AI tools that cost $20 a month or even free can generate sophisticated designs in just a few seconds? For this episode, we're diving into these big questions. And to do that, we will hear two stories where students used AI for design, one that led to celebration and another that sparked controversy. And we'll hear from a leader at one of the nation's leading art and design colleges who is wrestling with how to integrate AI into the curriculum there. Our first tale of AI design involves a pair of students at Babson College outside of Boston. Now, this is a college that's focused on entrepreneurship, and it's one that has been quicker than most in higher ed to embrace AI tools. For instance, pretty soon after the release of ChatGPT, Babson started an interdisciplinary center to encourage AI experiments that it calls the Generator. And students have played an unusually big role in co-creating the center. I met these two Babson students last year while I was researching a big report on AI that I wrote for the Chronicle of Higher Education. And their story really stuck with me. So I was excited to invite them on the podcast. One of these students is Reese Gardner, and he has been exploring the intersection of art and business just about as long as he can remember.
I mean, my first business I started was when I was around 9-10 years old. It was called Reese's Pieces, and I was
Reese's Pieces. Your name is Reese. There you go.
Yeah, and I was selling rainbow loom jewelry. I would just make it, and then I would either sell it to my friends, and then my mom was also doing some work with nonprofits, so I would bring it to the nonprofit walk, and that would be like 50% donations, and then I get 50% of the profit. So win-win.
So when he got to college, Reese knew he wanted to find something that united these interests.
Yeah, I consider myself a creative entrepreneur. So I find creative ways to express myself and also monetize off it. So I do DJing. I was curating vintage clothing, now doing product design. So yeah, a lot of that different type of stuff.
Then one day, early in his time at Babson, he was hanging out at the Makerspace, a facility that has 3D printers and laser cutters and that kind of thing.
And I was doing some work, and two of my friends came, and one of them had their laptop open. They're like, "Oh, you got to check out this new tool. You got to check out this new tool." I was like, "Oh, like, what is it?" And they put Dolly down right in front of my face, and I was like, "Okay." And he's like,
"Yeah, this is an AI image generator that was pretty new at the time, I guess."
Yeah,
newer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it was 2022, 2023. Yeah, 2022, I think, was when the whole GPT wave was kind of first coming out.
At the time, all the buzz around AI was focused on how this tool could suddenly write things. In other words, most of the conversation was about text. But Reese was drawn to early AI tools that could spin up pictures from just a few words of typed instructions that described what the user wanted.
I sat down, I remember I just prompted like a fish in a fishbowl or something like that. And it was instant, like 4 graphic designs within like 20 seconds. And it was just this light bulb moment, this paradigm shift for me, realizing that there are graphic designers and traditional designers that are going to school for 4, 6, 8 years, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a traditional degree. And now I'm sitting as a freshman in college with no traditional design experience, now generating, even at that time, some of the graphic designs were almost indistinguishable from, traditionally done graphic design if you were to do it on Photoshop or Illustrator or something like that. So that was really the first initial light bulb moment for me.
He soon met a classmate who shared some of his interests. Cole Collins.
Different journey for myself. Even high school, I think that's what really brought me to Babson. I think everyone has some sort of startup or business. I was in like the sports cards market. That was my whole
nice.
gig.
Yeah.
So I ran open and break. It was called Card Breaks. I had like 1,500 followers on Instagram. You'd get online. You post cards and people would like basically buy slots for you to open them for you. So that was like really where I first started my journey. But I was a baseball player. I was an athlete, so I got recruited to Babson originally. And after my freshman year, I kind of decided that it was time to hang up the cleats. Babson had so much to offer, and I felt like I was not taking advantage of it most as a student. And so that sophomore year, I became the VP of Finance for the AI Club. That was really my first introduction. Being a big generalist, I kind of saw how AI was able to enable so many different industries, paths, creativity. And like it was just that was a light bulb moment for me where it's just like, this is going to change everything. And I love to do everything.
Cole and Reese decided to work together on some kind of business. And soon, Reese had another aha moment with AI.
Yeah, so around a year and a half ago, I found this tool called Meshy, and it was essentially a tool that allowed me to take the images that I was previously creating via AI, DALL-E, Midjourney, these tools, and take that image and directly import it into Meshy and create a 3D model from that image. And so I have no 3D modeling experience ever. I was never trained
And
on
it's kind of
it.
hard. It takes a lot to do it
I've
well.
tried. It's not easy. It's not easy. I've installed Blender.
I've tried too, actually. It's not something I've gotten yet. Yeah.
Exactly. And so when I was able to, the first thing that I was able to take an image of and put it into this tool and then get like a realistic rendering was actually a chair. And so we were doing a lot of product design, a lot of product prototyping. And so it was on a very small scale. It was probably 3 to 4 inches long, but it was this lounge chair that I was able to ideate in my mind, more or less, and then prompt it out.
So describe it in words through a prompt.
But it's interesting because I actually used AI to optimize the prompt in and of itself to get
You asked AI to help you ask AI to make a chair.
It's a concept called meta prompting.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like a lot of times when you meta prompt, you get outputs that are different. However, sometimes more creative, more imaginative, and like a little bit more out there than you would have even expected. And it shifted the paradigm from you have to sit down with one design in your head for 5 hours and sketch out all the intricate details to now you're generating hundreds of designs in maybe 15 minutes. And then you're curating, you're going through. And that taste is now more important than ever because now you have 100, 200, 500 designs now to choose from. You have to find the one that most resonates with you and resonates with the user. And so from that, I was able to take the one that I really found, turn it into a 3D model, and then utilizing the 3D printers at Babson College at the Wiseman Foundry or Makerspace, I was able to 3D print a previously AI generated image, which is pretty crazy to think about.
So in Plastic, you ended up being able to turn your text prompt that you got meta prompted, then you're printing it out in something that's a couple inches high and inches wide, and there it is. Then you had it in your hand.
Exactly. And so that was literally magic for me. It was a crazy moment because we were bringing our AI creations into the real world instead of it just being behind a screen. And when people think about AI, that's all they think about. Is it behind a screen, behind a computer? But
or the marketing materials, like you said, the text, the things on the screen. Yeah,
exactly.
He was excited to show Cole.
I just remember that day when Reese came into class. We're in biomimicry together. But he just comes to class with that chair, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're here.
And so after that, I set up a meeting with the head of the innovation program at our school, and I was telling her about the stuff I was working on. And I had this whole long, elaborate story and about how I made the image. I had a whole pitch deck, and I had the little chair that I
You
originally
got
made
your
on
plastic
Midjourney.
chair. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hid the chair in my lap throughout the whole meeting, so that when I finally got to the end, I just took the chair out and I put it right on the table. She said, "Oh my god, oh my god."
The students hoped that the college would help them transform their tiny model chair into something bigger.
Our whole goal was to take these images, use the tech that's on the market to make a 3D model, and to actually print them off with 3D printing at real-time scale, at full scale. We literally stumbled upon a company called Decibel Made on our Instagram feed. Literally found it like on our Instagram feed. They were 3.5 hours away in New Jersey. We hit them up. They were great people. They responded fast, and ended up they had connections with with President Spinelli of Babson. He was their old president at I forget what college it was at.
And this is a company that can take some digital sketch and turn it into a scale 3D printed chair.
They work in CAD to kind of clean up our final 3D model, right? And we can get into that in terms of where the human in the loop looks like for design moving forward. And I think that's a really key point about it.
Yeah.
And they were able to clean up because their printers have certain overhangs or angles that it can't print at, so they have to manufacture for their printers. So once we were able to give this model to them, they were able to print these chairs off or tables off in scale. But yeah, we had this pitch deck of all the images of chairs that we want to see come to life once we had all the stakeholders in place to make this chair. And I came up with the damn chair.
You heard that right. They called the chair the AI dam chair. But of course, everyone at Babson knows this refers to the kind of dams that beavers make.
Which is a chair that is based off of Beaver Dam, since Babson's mascot is the beaver, and kind of gave a sense of community, innovation, strength. I think it was a culmination point, a reflection and symbolism of what Babson is and how we're moving with innovation. And so everyone else was on board with that. They're like, this represents Babson. So that was the one we brought to life. We did some iterations on terms of the 3D model, going back and forth until we even found the right one that we wanted to have before sending over to Decibel. And then we had another round of iteration process back and forth with the Decibel team. Their interior designer lead would give us back sketches from CAD to, hey, this is what we're thinking. What do you guys think? And they were so receptive to our responses. We sit down for like 30, 45 minutes talking about like, hey, here's all the specs that we want out of it and why we gave you it in this model. Until we finally got our final product, being the damn chair, a 100% recycled material, 3D printed furniture at full scale, using all recycled wood fibers and cellulose to print it all.
So in just a few months, the students went from realizing a technology even existed to starting a company that they call Bind to start manufacturing these chairs that they designed with AI. When I first heard this story, I had kind of assumed the students won a design contest at Babson to get the college to help them build their first prototype. But they didn't even wait for a contest. They just approached officials that they had met, either at the generator or in their classes, and they asked for money and help. And Cole and Reese also incorporated ideas from that class that they were taking on biomimicry.
BIND stands for biomimicry is nature's design. So that is actually, I kind of call back to what I was talking about, where Reese brought the chair in to our class. We had a class called biomimicry with a fantastic professor, Vicki Rogers. She is amazing. And basically biomimicry is the process of which emulating nature's designs and processes to create sustainable products, right? So for us, it's all based on the circular economy. Instead of doing cradle to grave, how products are taken, made, and then thrown out in waste, that waste material becomes the beginning material, just like nature does with breaking down, decomposing material to become the input material for new growth in life. And so that's our entire process of Bind, is that we're focused on that recyclable nature of the 3D printed furniture, right? So the 100% cellulose, 100% recycled wood fiber, those are all end material that are now becoming use and input for these chairs.
So here are two college seniors who don't have any training in design or in making furniture or in manufacturing, who now run a company that makes original furniture, all thanks to AI.
We see AI as a tool to execute some of the skills that we don't necessarily have the time to learn, or because we are, like Cole said, generalists. We always have a lot of stuff going on. So for us to go and get a master's degree in product design or whatever it may be, whatever discipline it may be, it's just, it might not be in the cards. And it's also a financial barrier for a lot of people, you know?
So time and money to go get your own training in the traditional way.
Or just utilize the tools that you can pay $20 a month for, or, you know, even sometimes free if you're a student. But the thing is, like, there's this interesting concept when you look at creativity, and it's an idea that's been floated around the generator a decent bit. When we look at hallucinations, right? A lot of people
Where the tendency of AI to, if it doesn't know, to spit out something that confidently, but it could be wrong.
Exactly. It could be wrong, but when you get into the creative sphere, is there really any wrong? You know, there's not really much wrong. And so there's this concept of hallucinations, or almost like the gray area as to where it's not completely certain or where it's not completely sure. And there's an argument to be made that hallucinations in a machine are highly, highly reflective of human creativity. And so I remember there was this one time where I put in a prompt and it was like, I said retina of a human eye, right? And I thought it was going to be just a little eyeball, calm, classic.
Literal. Yeah.
And then it literally took this complete, I'll send you the picture, but this complete artistic twist on it. And it had like colorful like holes, and like it's just like morphing and stuff like that. And like I would have never thought of that. You know what I mean? When I was thinking of that, I don't think anybody would have thought about that correlation. But this hallucination, I would consider to be creative, you know, because it introduced something that wasn't expected. It utilized something and almost took a completely different twist on it, which is almost the definition of creativity.
And it came from somewhere, you're saying, like the training data.
Yeah, of course. It's all trained on data, sometimes public, sometimes not so public.
In a way, like it has a human backbone, even this, but it's just, so it's like random, but it's random from something.
Exactly. And you think about all the things that you've seen in your life, you're almost training your mind like we train a large language model or a computer vision model. We have all these images. We're always taking inspiration. And then what we output, I'm not going to say it's a regurgitation of all that, but it is a accumulation with your own twist. And I think that's what AI is doing as well. So I think there's going to be human in the loop in terms of the ideation process, and also on the back end in terms of cleaning everything up, especially when we're talking about product design. There's still that human in the loop that's necessary to bring something into CAD, bring something into Grasshopper, and make sure that all the ergonomics are correct, make sure that you're not falling back in your chair when you're leaning back a little bit. Those things.
Yeah, you build an expensive chair that's a dud.
Exactly. So I think in terms of where AI really comes in is that prototyping process. So I think human in the loop for the ideation, human in the loop for the cleaning up and the refinement, but this whole prototyping process is completely up for grabs.
So I'm going to step back a minute and highlight some things that struck me in how these students talk about design. For one thing, I noticed Reese uses the word ideate a lot. He's not designing or creating. What he's doing is forming the idea and using tools to do the rest. Ideating. And the role of the human in this ideating is to oversee these robot designers and to pick out the AI-generated designs that humans would like best. So, as everyone that I talked to for this episode kept saying, it's crucial there's a human in the design loop.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things, even outside of just design application, is the bottoms up innovation that is occurring and the top down domain expertise. And this merge between those two is where the winners of the equation will be.
So in other words, it's you're not going to cut out those seasoned designers, and you even worked with them to create your chair. You said at this company you worked with.
100%. And they have, again, I think the technology is going to get better. It's definitely going to become more accurate. But at the end of the day, again, the ergonomics, the certain hangs of printers, like it's still going to be, there's going to be a need to check a human in the loop to check things off, go back through. You're not going to let it just slide through and say, okay, check, we're good, and have a comment. What is your confidence level on that, right? The confidence level might continue to increase, but there's always that gap where there's going to be a need for a human-human interaction runs everything, right? When you're selling something, when you're making a deal, right, there's always that connection. I don't think there's ever going to be a point where AI is going to take over that. And I think in all areas and facets of jobs, industries, that's what's going to stay. So it might, that augmentation of work that Reese was talking about, it might get you faster to point X, right, of acceleration of your prototyping, ideation, even in the finance world, right? Like making your DCFs or LBOs, right?
Sure.
Accelerating to the point of, okay, here's my material. Now I have it. Now I have to go communicate that, or now I have to go finish it off with another human to clean things up to finally make the deal or to finally make that chair, right? I think that's really what we're harping at here, is that speeds up the process to about point X, that prototyping phase.
So what do design professors think about this world where students feel they can skip getting expensive degrees and jump right into making things, thanks to AI? I ran all of this by the head of curriculum at a design college, and you can find out what she said after the break. Stay with us. This episode is brought to you by Studiosity. As AI reshapes higher education, every leader needs to be asking right now, is this AI tool, or any tool, building capacity or just dependence in our students? Georgia State University recently put that to the test. Their impact study showed that when students used Studiosity, DFW rates dropped from nearly 39% to just 8%. And this isn't just about better grades. It's about valuing the thinking and writing process as much as the validation of learning. Studiosity rejects the culture of surveillance that has turned educators into police. For a model that focuses on formative process, student agency, and teacher choice. Move beyond the detection age, back to defensible evidence of learning. Visit Studiosity.com. That's Studiosity.com. Now back to the episode. Cole and Reese have been celebrated at Babson as a huge success story about embracing AI and bringing new ideas to life. You could go sit on this AI damn chair if you visit their campus. By the way, it's pretty cool looking. I'll put a picture in the show notes. It's got all these loops and curves, and overall it's got this vibe of both high-tech and organic. It looks pretty comfortable too. But as I heard the story, I found myself curious to hear what people who teach design think about students skipping so much learning thanks to AI. Where does this leave colleges and instructors who teach design? So as I've put this together, I've been looking for someone at a design school that can help comment on this. And last week, I ended up finding just the right expert. I was at a conference in Washington, D.C. that was called Global Skills Week, hosted by the consulting firm QS. A big theme there was how AI is changing the workforce and how education needs to change to adapt. And one of the speakers at the event was Valerie Kite from the Savannah College of Art and Design, or SCAD. Valerie is the college's executive director of assessment and curriculum. And after she gave her talk, I sat down with her to see what she thought of this AI damn chair.
In my opinion, in curriculum design and thinking of where we are now in the world and what we've been hearing a lot here at the Global Skills Conference is about durable skills. And one of the things that I am hearing from experts, from researchers, and from people who are in the tech field and in AI, there's a few things that are central. to this, one of which being the importance of curiosity. The students in this Babson example showed an amazing amount of curiosity and really kind of grit and determination to see a project through, even though they had very little knowledge of the subject. They iterated. They changed things up. They went all the way through the prototyping stage. That's huge. I mean, that's kind of going through the design process. Whether they knew it or not, they were going through an iterative design process, and they were learning along the way. Another big thing we're hearing about is entrepreneurial skills, that AI is a democratizer of knowledge, of skill. And so they could build a business based around furniture design, having very little knowledge of it. So they've already demonstrated several of these skill. One, I would hire them on the spot. First thing, because they're curious, because they've got grit, they've got tenacity. Obviously, they approach their college administration about this project. I mean, these students seem pretty brilliant. Now, where the education and the curriculum design comes in, at that point, it's pushing those students to go further with it. And that's the way we use AI at SCAD. It's not, in our case, we stress that it's not the final product that AI comes up with, but it's taking their designs and doing it further. So in their case, they might back up a little bit and be like, well, if I'm really interested in furniture design, if this is going to be my thing, maybe I step back and learn some of those fundamentals, those design skills. I strengthen my taste. I strengthen my aesthetic intelligence, as we call it. But I mean, there's no harm in, what are they calling it this week? Like the agility to learn new skills. They could now learn things about design. If they've already got the entrepreneurial mindset, they've got all of these building blocks already in place. Now we teach them the design skills.
Do they need SCAD at all?
I mean, I would say yes. And the reason I say that is because we would start at the base. So we would give them the background and what has happened in the world of design. That's kind of historically speaking, from the beginning of art and design, what inspiration do you draw from?
Now, I am all for this idea that there's a role for design colleges still. But it does seem like that for many students like Reese and Cole, AI could be a kind of get out of school pass to avoid having to learn the basics. So I asked Valerie flat out whether she thinks AI is a threat to design fields as a whole.
I've heard it this week. I've heard it from experts that we're consulting with SCAD, and they continue to tell us the same thing. AI is not going to take your job, but it is going to take the jobs of people who don't know AI. So if you are not willing to experiment with it, to become, AI literate, to push the boundaries of what it is, then I think you should be a little scared.
But then again, isn't the counterpoint that people will maybe seek out human-made and sort of there'll be a commodification of the human in a way?
That's true, and yes. And the same thing is to start from the making and build with AI, or to start with AI and then build the reality. It's always the human in the loop. It can come at the end or it can come at the beginning, but at some point, the human discernment, the human judgment, the human intelligence, the aesthetic intelligence or taste, that's what makes the difference. And AI can't replicate that. And I don't think 3 years from now, AI can replicate that. I saw a student present in a textiles class a couple of weeks ago. And the amazing thing about their work is how handmade it is. Going through different techniques, different tools, different mediums. And once they create this beautiful project, then they're taking all of that information, vibe coding with Claude Code, and creating these magnificent websites to show off their portfolio of work in ways that everyone around the world could experience this beautiful handmade thing that usually you would have to be in person to experience. So there's ways to bring the technologies and the making together that I'm seeing from SCAD students that I'm not seeing anywhere else. And I think that is kind of the people who are going to be really successful are the people who are finding ways to take the in real life human making that's so special and the craftsmanship, and then also knowing how to use AI to their advantage to make sure that they're ready for their jobs.
I love it. So it's not just that the robots will be the artists. It's what can the robots do to help the artists?
Right. And for art and design, so much of it, I spoke to someone recently about the concept of aesthetic intelligence, and it's very subjective. And people say you can't judge taste, but it's not high taste, it's not low taste. It's how is something that I've made making me experience all of the senses. And AI just can't replicate all of that. That is a very human thing. AI is not experiencing all of the senses at once. So your ability to craft a fully immersive experience, you can't replicate that.
Humans. So you're betting on humans.
I'm betting on humans, 100%.
I recently came across another story about design and AI that I think offers an important counterpoint to this story of the AI damn chair. This one happened a few months ago at Princeton University, which is where I went to college. As I was reading the alumni magazine recently, I learned that AI played an unusual role in a Princeton tradition that's over 100 years old. It's about, of all things, a beer jacket. Specifically, it's about the beer jacket that students in each class wear at a big parade on campus that happens soon after graduation. And at reunions.
They usually have like tigers because that's our mascot.
That's Margaret Meow, a senior at Princeton who's majoring in mechanical and aerospace engineering and minoring in bioengineering and material science.
Some of them have like Nassau Hall because that's like kind of Princeton's emblem.
Yeah, it's like the original building. It looks Ivy League. Yeah.
It is very Ivy League. And a lot of people really want like their class years and the word Princeton now that I have talked to people on their class jacket, because it's like, look, like this is like us. We're representing our year.
Now, every year, the graduating class at Princeton holds a contest where students submit designs for their class jacket. And then students vote for the winning design. These jackets are not exactly high fashion. They're usually kind of over the top in their loudness of orange and black, Princeton's colors. And they're kind of campy. I mean, who wears a beer jacket these days? And this year, a record number of entries poured in for this jacket design contest. 50 students entered, compared to about 18 last year. Margaret submitted one, and she was one of the finalists.
For the finalists, we all had to sign an agreement being like, okay, we had to make sure like we used no AI usage to generate our designs.
When the winning design was announced, Margaret felt that something was off. She noticed oddities in the design that seemed characteristic of AI image generators, like variations in shapes and irregular coloring. Margaret decided to see if other students felt the same as she did. So she put up a petition on change.org titled Demand for Integrity for Class of 2026 Jacket. Could you read the first part of what your petition says?
Yeah. So we demand integrity and transparency from the selected class of 2026 reunions jacket design. At Princeton, we as students hold ourselves to the honor code and routinely reaffirm our commitment to integrity and honesty throughout our academic careers. Princeton's vitality as an academic institution rests upon the ability of each student to create their own individual contribution. Our class jacket, an enduring symbol of our time at Princeton, should reflect these values and our values as a class. We, the undersigned, demand transparency and clarity in the selection of the 2026 jacket design to ensure no artificial intelligence tools have been used to create a fabrication of an idea without grounding in our principles as a class. Additionally, the use of AI presents a clear violation of the rules of the design contest as shown in the form below. We deserve a jacket created by a member of the class, not a program. We deserve respect for the dozens of students who went through an iterative, creative, and laborious process in their submission. To these ends, we demand clear evidence that the jacket designed for the great class of 2026 is created through a human-driven design rather than an algorithmic generation.
Okay. And did people answer the call when you posted this petition up?
Yeah, so I think we ended up collecting over 600 signatures.
Over 600 signatures. For context, there are only about 1,500 students in the class of 2026. So this is a big uproar. And just to be clear, there's no prize money for this jacket design contest. It's traditionally just been all in good fun. But these Princeton students, who worked so hard on academics and activities and all the things that it took to get them into an Ivy League school, definitely don't want their class symbol to look like AI slop. As Margaret wrote in that petition, it is an affront to represent the vital institution with designs which cut corners, disrespect artistic creation, and delude the agreed-upon rules of the contest. This focus on the rules of the contest, it particularly struck me as I talked to Margaret. And with AI right now, we're just in a moment where there seems like no clear rules of the contest. Anyway, I do get why these students got so upset over a beer jacket. And bowing to that student pushback, the Class Jackets Committee ended up announcing a new winner about a week after that petition went up. They picked a design with the next highest vote total that was deemed qualified for the contest. Margaret said this design is obviously human-made.
Yeah, I guess like it was clearly like hand-drawn, so it was like a proof of concept. And also this person is one of like the small number of like visual art minors that have like a whole studio to themselves, and a lot of people knew him as an artist. So there was that like other ethos and like the other rapport from students being like, yes, like this is an artist that made this design. So like I guess like that was pretty convincing to me, and also it looked more like hand drawn, like on an iPad or something, as opposed to like in vector art design. Because
For you, it really was the principle of the thing as far as the integrity.
yes, especially in this day and age where AI art it's not regulated. First off, it poses a big copyright issue right now because it's not regulated. We don't know where the sources, like where the models are getting their sources from. And I've seen images where it's like, the whole Studio Ghibli style, like Sam Altman literally made his profile picture in the style of Studio Ghibli, which I think Studio Ghibli tried to sue them for. It's just that concept of like, okay, like I want to, like, I've also seen the arguments just like, well, I generated the prompt to make the image or whatnot, and that takes skill. You can still apply that to like a human. Like if you're commissioning somebody, hey, I want this figure in this room. It has sort of dark or light lighting. You're still, I feel like, offsetting the work that could be done by a human that like would take time and skill, and to call for the AI, like to give it to the AI and then calling that work as your own. It's like also saying like that, oh, I wrote this song, but like I had a ghostwriter write it for me. So it just, at least like it's a little of like integrity issue. And it also creates a platform where people can just like easily commodify like, I don't know, like ready to made art. And obviously there's like levels to this, right? Even Photoshop now has its own AI tools. I'm not saying AI tools is like basically like not allowed. Like I'm sure like there's other things that like AI will make the products that we produce like better quality in some certain sense, but there has to be a level of where like it has to be regulation. There has to be integrity of like being open, like what sources to use. Like if somebody created a collage on Photoshop and then they were just like, oh, this was all me, I didn't like, and then they're like, oh, but where'd you get the images from? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like all me. Like that's a little bit disingenuous.
I was curious to hear what Margaret would think of the AI damn chair at Babson by students who had celebrated their AI use in design as a kind of symbol of the future.
I feel like as a brainstorming tool, if you're like giving credit to it, and again, like this whole thing has become very nuanced because it's like okay, where's the original thought and where's the original idea, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I feel like they still put effort and they still had their own, like, if you're still like thinking about it critically and you're like, bouncing ideas back and forth to make the prototype or MVP, like, sure, I feel like this is fine, and they're also admitting like to using it. But again, it's just like, I think it's a little bit different again from like the whole artistic side. Yeah, but like as a tool for industry, and also like I'm also in like big in the biotech space, and right now like a big thing was with like AI, like precision drugs, and like designing different combinations for either antibodies or like drugs and different ligands, and it can cut a lot of the, I guess, the discovery part, and you can narrow it down to like one or two target hits that like could give a better outcome. And also, I think engineering is highly like iterative. You're never going to have like an original idea. You're always going to be iterating from something that exists and making it better. So it's definitely two very different things, but like it has overlaps, because at the end of the day, design isn't used just in purely art. It's also used in engineering and also like even sciences even.
To be super clear, you're not against AI. Like,
No,
it
I'm
has its
not.
uses.
It has its uses, and I think like generally, because like again, I'm like heavy in like the biotech space, and it's like we can do a lot. And I think also it's the difference between like again, like my family comes from China, and like when I talk, or at least I see the discourse about AI usage there, it's very like society like benefits, like, oh, this will help us in XYZ. While like the discourse here is more like fear mongering entirely, but I also see why. It's because a lot of creative works are being taken from people, and it's also being used in a way where it's like not short circuiting in the sense that the Babson kids did, but short circuiting as in like it's to make like a quick buck or whatever. And I think that two distinction, like AI for like public and utility use versus like personal gain, and like to, I guess, like create like commodify like an art just to be sold quickly and like not being due credit.
To be clear, these are very different situations. But I think the fact that so many Princeton students got upset when AI was used for this novelty jacket to represent their class captures a view I hear a lot when I talk to students. It seems to me most students want a world where if some human works hard on something, then that human gets the credit, even if some AI tool could make something similar. I told this story to Valerie Kite, the official from Savannah College of Art and Design, to see what she made of the uproar at Princeton.
The world kind of needs this duality of, there are people who are, you need a healthy sense of fear. If you say you're not scared of AI, I think you're lying. We all should be a little scared, but that's good. A healthy fear means you're not going to burn yourself or break your leg. And it all needs to be grounded in ethics. SCAD is really big on this within our AI degree, and now spreading across all areas. We have, AI ethics built in at all levels, because, the same thing could happen to a SCAD student where, you design something, you didn't come up with it yourself. There are questions also about intellectual property that go along with OpenAI and generative AI and whose work was taken. That's one of the biggest concerns of our students around AI, is not just that you don't have if you're not an illustrator and you come up with an illustration, it's my work could be within this model and pulling from my ideas that I've spent years generating and just using it for your personal gain.
With no compensation.
With no compensation whatsoever. So that is sort of a background of this argument as well. It's a little bit deeper than just being like, hey, it should be an original design. But two, at SCAD, it's never the final product. It's always, I had this design. My favorite example, so from fashion, the student does 200 sketches of their fashion collection. And now let's say I want to know, before I put this design on paper and construct it into a prototype, I want to know that it's viable. You can take that sketch, feed it into generative AI, and see actually what the fabric that you're thinking is going to look like hanging on a model, without having to go to the sewing machine and spend hours doing something that would have been fruitless. And then AI has like leveled up your design without it being the final product. We also say if you're going to use AI, you have to claim it. If you don't admit to the fact that it's AI, if you try to put it out there in the first place, you need to tell us in advance. Oh, and a lot of professors, you'll require them to give the prompts that they use and things. So it's very transparent. I mean, it is totally against the honor code to turn something in without saying that you used AI to bake it. But if you own up to it, in fact, you celebrate it on the front end to say, I had made this design. I had this great idea. I used AI to iterate my design and make it 10 times better. In fact, we've had students who worked on a project, put it into AI, showed it to an expert. The expert liked their original design more than what came out of AI, and that pleased them more than beyond imagination. They feel like they beat AI. But, I mean, sometimes the human element, AI currently is just retelling us things that have already been done. It compiles, it changes things around, and then it spits out what has already been put onto this planet already. It's not an original idea, it's a retelling. Like, we're in the age of retellings. From, TV and movies, we're just retelling the same stories over and over and over. And that's what AI kind of gives us at this point. So unless you have the human in the loop that like levels up that design, the homogeny of the designs just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
It's like the ultimate rerun machine.
It is the ultimate rerun machine. And it becomes very easy to spot in student work if that's happening.
I guess as a society right now, we are still working out the rules of the contest when it comes to using AI in design. And students and colleges are at the forefront of figuring out the best balance between AI and humans in designing the future. This has been Learning Curve. This episode was written and produced by me, Jeff Young. I used an AI image generator to design the show art for the episode. I used Midjourney. I guess I ideated the picture. A human composer, who goes by Kamaku, wrote our theme music. If you like the show, please tell a friend or share on social media. And it'd be a big help if you would leave a review or a comment wherever you listen to podcasts. And thanks to our sponsor for this episode, Studiosity. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, thanks for listening.